your feelings so you could feel them without judgment and get through to the other side. Do you ever hear the saying, if you're going through hell, keep going, don't stay there? Sometimes we're so afraid of our feelings that we do everything not to feel them. And what I'm going to tell you about in this episode is how that makes you feel worse. Hey, this is Live with Dr. Jodi. I'm on every Monday at 8 p.m. Right here on YouTube, on Facebook, and soon to be more platforms. Usually, I'm on with a guest, myself, or with my daughter Lily, and she has a meeting tonight, so she might surprise us and jump on in the middle of this episode. But we're going to be talking about allowing your feelings, how to feel your feelings so they don't get stuck, so you don't push them down, so you don't make them more and more overwhelming, make them worse. This is what we do. This is it. This is what we do is we try to escape. We're so scared of feeling that we make up all these stories, and I'll explain what I'm talking about. And we make all this meaning because we're trying to control it. When we start to have negative emotions, when we start to have emotional turmoil from something that happens, like a context of our life, somebody's mean to us, we got rejected, something bad happened, we observed something, we lost somebody, either a friend or, there's somebody got sick, right? If there's a worry, if there's a stress, if there's a loss, we are human. You're going to have a response to that experience. And your response to that experience are feelings. And because of the way our culture is structured, I don't know if I'll have time to talk about that in this episode, but the way our culture is structured, we are so highly critical of our response to the world because we think that we're supposed to be like above it all and we have to take the high road and be spiritually evolved and not let things bother us. But that's really not true. We're human, we feel things. It'd be weird if you didn't feel anything when something bad happened. But we're so afraid of it. We think one of the things that we think is we're doing it wrong. I often tell the story about my mom. Sometimes she's watching. If you're watching, say hi, mom. Um, she had a friend who passed away, and she was in Florida, and on a vacation. It was an awful experience. This is years ago. It was a really horrible experience, and she had the kids, this friend's kids came down, and she was with them in the hospital saying goodbye, and it's horrible, right? Horrible experience. And when she came back to Rochester, my sister and I had her over for lunch, and we were talking, and just trying to support her. And she's like, I just I just can't get over it. I just can't get over it. I'm like, Mom, it was a week ago. A week ago. You know, we think that if we feel too long or too much, that we've done it wrong. And I'm here to tell you, you are not doing it wrong. This is human and this is what we would expect. But what happens is it feels chaotic, understandably. It feels chaotic. And it scares us to feel negative emotions, to feel that loss, to feel that grief, to feel that sadness, to feel that anxiety. It makes us feel really nervous if we're going to be able to handle it and how long it's going to last and what's going to happen and how are people going to judge us and yada, 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 right? Who's with me? Who understands what I'm talking about? Because we've all been there. We've all been there. So we are feel chaotic and we want order because humans want order as fast as they can because we don't like the chaos. And the very fastest way we could get order is through blame. It's the easiest, fastest, the fastest thing for us to grab is some kind of blame, some kind of explanation. It's really us trying to make sense of what happened. And sometimes what happened is nonsensical. It's not something you can make sense of. Bad things have happened and they weren't okay. They don't make sense. And we try to make sense of it or create some kind of order to get some kind of control because it feels out of control. Everybody does it. And so what we do, Lily,
Hi.
hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, good to see you. We're
Good to
talking
see
about
you.
feeling your feelings. Hey, did you know the topic of tonight, or did you, or is this a surprise?
This is a
Oh
surprise.
my gosh. Okay, what we're
Oh
gonna,
my
I'm just kind of
gosh.
still doing the intro to why people don't want to feel their feelings and why people are afraid of feeling their feelings. And then we're going to do an exercise. So I'm so glad that you're done with your meeting and you got to come because I want you to do the exercise and give me feedback about it.
Okay. I'm ready.
You look great.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
You too.
Oh, thank you. I got my hair cut. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, it looks great.
Where did it?
Okay. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely like
a lot less
it's
hair.
thinned out a little
Yeah,
in the best way.
thank you. Okay, so we have really thick hair in our family. So okay, so we're talking about feeling your feelings and why people get scared when they feel something negative. And Winston heard your voice because he just came in the room. That's our dog. Lily's at
Oh.
college. So I'll try to make room. Maybe he'll sit next to me. I don't know. Well, so when we are nervous or scared, it feels really chaotic, and so we try to get some control, and we make meaning around it so we can figure it out because it feels really uncomfortable not understanding or not being able to figure it out. So, and I was saying that the fastest way, if we're really scared and we're kind of desperate not to feel anymore, we often um, go to blame because it's urgent. Like there's a desperation to not feel, and so we have to make the fastest meaning possible. And that's why if you're young and somebody hurt you, and you don't understand it, we often do. You know how when some people are abused or some people have had traumatic assault or something like that, and they blame themselves. This is why people blame themselves when something like that happens. It's because it feels so chaotic and they're trying to make sense of it, and the fastest thing to do is blame. And when you're young, you blame yourself because it doesn't make sense why people that shouldn't hurt you, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of times when people are feeling that way and they go to blame, they blame themselves. We blame ourselves in our culture like a lot. Sometimes we want to blame the other person and want to blame ourselves and want to blame the other person. And we kind of go back. We have this conflict within us. This makes it so much worse. Like everything is just, we think we're trying to get order from the chaos of what happened. And we end up making more chaos with this fighting of ourselves. Did you ever experience that, Lily?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, you're like, is it me? Is it them? Is it me? Is it them? And you have evidence for both. So you don't have order because you have more questions, right? You keep questioning and questioning. And our mind is gonna just keep questioning. That's what a human mind does because we have this such huge capacity to think about so many things. So anyway, so that's why we're afraid of our feelings and we end up causing more. That's what I mean by the stories of how we did something wrong, stories about how the other person did something wrong. And we do all this to try to avoid feelings. But as you could see, this is it attaches us to it and gives us more to think about. And then we go into overthinking realm. And so we're not even allowing ourselves to feel the feelings. We're like trying to figure out all these meanings and what's right. And we go into like problem solving mode, which actually causes suffering. But as we're going to talk about in this, and we're going to practice in this exercise, is if you allowed yourself to feel the feelings without all that extra meaning making, you actually don't attach. And there's a trick to that, not attaching to those feelings, and you get through the other side. Lily, when we first started tonight, I was talking about, did you ever hear the quote, if you're going through hell, keep going? Like instead of
Hmm.
like staying there or resisting or whatever, like clenching up or whatever we do emotionally or physically, um, we don't, we like get stuck in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
We feel, and then the guilt comes up and we're like, everyone else can handle this and I can't handle it. And all these kind of things that we say to ourselves. Um, anyway, so
Mhm.
So I want to do this exercise that I've done for a lot of years with people, my friends, myself, my family. I don't know if I ever did it with you, Lily. You could remind me, but it's called 2 minutes to peace, and it's about just feeling some feelings. So we could all try it together. Everybody's out there live. Everybody's watching the recording or listening to the recording. You could do this. It's safe. So, Lily, can you think of something? You don't have to share it, but can you think of something recent that happened that was upsetting? Um, yeah, drop us a comment if you want to ask any questions. Thank you so much. Um, think about something recently that's bothered you a little bit. We're live,
Okay.
so maybe you don't want to get something too triggering, but think about something that's kind of bothered you a bit. And we're going to close our eyes, which might be weird to look at us with our eyes closed, but you could close your eyes too. And think about that thing that you experienced recently. We're not going to do that. It's only going to be a couple minutes here. But think about something that you've experienced recently that's bothered you and try to locate it in your body somewhere. So maybe it feels like is on your chest or in your stomach or, somewhere on your shoulder or something like that, or weight on your neck. Where in your body does this thing that you're thinking about, this bothering, this feeling, and we're going to try to stay out of the story of it and just allow yourself to feel that if it was hurt or worry or upsetness, grief, where is it sitting? And if you can, think about if there's a color. Is there a shape? Maybe there's an image, might be like dark and thick. Um, Maybe it's a consistency. Whatever comes to your mind as the shape or the thing there. And you're just feeling the feeling of it. And we're trying to suspend some story. And your mind might go to the story, but just kind of come back and just watch or look at that image that you have. And we're going to just take 5 long, deep breaths right into it. You're not going to try to do anything. You're going to just, you could start it now as I'm talking. Take 5, you can count for yourself 5 long, deep breaths. And imagine your breath coming in up through your nose, in and right into where that image is, where that feeling is. And just the raw feeling, you can feel it. Just the sadness, not the story about it, not what happened, just the sad. And breathe. And you're breathing in and around, and maybe you could feel the breath going in. You're not trying to do anything, you're just breathing those 5 long, deep breaths right into that feeling. Okay. If you're done with those breaths, you could take a moment and just observe, did anything change? You're not expecting anything, but did anything at all change in the size, in the shape, in the thickness, in the color? And you're just observing, you're not judging, you're not trying to figure anything out. But let's take 5 more deep breaths into there now. Just in, around. Imagine that breath going in and around through it. Not trying to do anything with that breath, but you're just breathing it in and being with it. You're looking at it, watching it. You're like a witness. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you all open your eyes. We're going to start. Lily and I are going to start discussion. Think about what came up for you. This was a snapshot of an experience. So, if you were in my office, if I were was working with you, we'd spend a little bit more time on it. But I just want to see if there's any difference, even in those 10 breaths that we did. You don't have to share what it is, Lily, unless you want to, but did you notice anything?
Um, I'm really I have trouble with visualizations. I don't think about things that way. So this is hard for me. But so I would say that nothing changed in the pool of where it was. I felt it in my chest. Like that's where I imagined or felt it. I guess I did feel it at the beginning, which I was happy about, but it was hard for me to like imagine that going away. And I was kind of stuck on that. I was like, no, I didn't feel anything go happen, but I did feel calmer. So it did help. I think I just don't. Um, I think if I was thinking about the visualization too much, and if anyone else is, then wait, are my earrings hitting my?
I can hear
um,
them.
you can't.
No.
Oh, oh well. Um, yeah, so that is something that I have trouble with. But I do. It was like nice little calming exercise. That's why I listen to music to try to get that sort of thing away.
Oh yeah, we
But
were talking about grounding and
yeah.
we were talking.
Um, but yeah, visualizing is hard for me. So if anyone had trouble with that when you're watching it, then um,
You're
that
not
is valid.
alone. You're not alone.
But yeah,
All
it was
right. So,
nice.
I if anybody wants to make a comment, that's great. But if just think about, because I've done this exercise in a big group, or in an arena, or on a video, or in a group, or a small group, or one on one, and usually there's a shift even without trying. Like there's maybe the shape gets smaller. I'm not trying to insist that that's going to happen. We only did it 10 breaths. I would do at least three more, five more breaths a little bit. And, but people usually start to notice right away because they're not putting the story on. The story is what attaches us. And before we end the show, we're talking about allowing your feelings. We're talking about allowing your feelings without judgment. That's the title, right? We're allowing our feelings without judgment. And so wanted to share, first of all, what happens quite quickly, because we're so afraid of the feelings, we think we're gonna get attached or stuck to them. Do I look really like orange? Does my face like orange? My face looks
No,
orange. Does it?
I
You
think
look
you
so
just have
pink and
like
beautiful, and I look orange.
I feel like I'm a little blue.
Oh, okay.
I
So
don't
maybe,
know. I think it's just different tones.
yeah, maybe this is like,
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
think you look great. What?
Anyway, so it's so hard to, when you're doing a live video, but you could like see yourself. It's not where I'm looking to look at all of you, but you could
Can you
see
turn
that
your
out of the corner
camera
of
off?
your eye. You're like, I'm orange.
Oh wait, no, that does it to me.
That doesn't help. You went away. All right. So what the trick is,
Mm-hmm.
yourself to feel and not going into the story. The trick is that that story attaches us, right? Because we're judging it right away. And what we're doing is we're saying, well, this is not okay. They feel this way, right? It's immediate judgment. And so it's immediate, like, this is chaotic. I can't do this. So when we judge ourselves, we immediately go into that trying to get order and assigning blame, or trying to figure it out, and being really upset that we feel bad, instead of being really like kind to ourselves and understanding that we feel bad because we're regular humans having a regular human response to the situation. And so instead of being really kind and nice to ourselves and compassionate with ourselves, we're like really mean. And we attach and we judge. We judge ourselves. We judge the other people. We judge that we're not doing it right. We judge. And so what if so the trick one is to suspend the story, but really to suspend the story, the easiest thing to do is to have compassion. And compassion is the opposite of negative self-judgment, because negative judgment is like, I'm not tolerating this. This is not okay. And compassion is like, oh, I understand this. This makes sense. See that how it's the opposite?
Yeah. Do you think this would be more helpful if I was very agitated about it right now? Or is this something that you're supposed to deal with, something
After the
that's
fact.
happened after the fact?
Either one. Either one. Usually when somebody is going through as upset and going through a really hard time, I do have a three-step process, which I could cover really quickly. And it starts with the compassion piece. Actually, that's a first step. When you're really struggling, it's have compassion, because you don't want to attach. You're having a regular human emotion, but when we're really upset about something, we're so close to it, so we're kind of in the chaos of our emotions. And from being so close to what happened and in our emotions, it's hard to, do anything next. And so the first thing and the only thing that we could do in those moments is be kind to ourselves, so we don't start making it worse. And so that's what allowing your feelings, that's what I mean by allowing your feelings. So when you're, if you were in a situation when you were really upset and it was like really bothering you because something just happened, the first thing I want you to do is have compassion to yourself, for yourself, because it's the opposite of judging yourself. Because judging will attach, compassion will help you be unattached. And compassion is just non-judgment. So it's like, do you know how to have compassion for yourself? Like, do you know?
Is there a specific thing? I mean, probably not. I don't have enough, definitely.
So
But
many people are like, well, how do you do that? Like, that, like, I think this should be taught in middle school, like how to have compassion for yourself, because it's the easiest thing. I actually have an animated video on how to have compassion for yourself. I think is really good. It's really short, and I'm going to put it in the blog post that goes along with this episode. But having compassion for yourself is the easiest thing. It's just anything you feel, anything at all that you feel, you just say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I understand. Like, I understand why I feel that way. But we don't do that.
yeah,
But
but it's harder than that, right?
if you
I
really
can say
believed it,
that.
the hard thing is
Yeah.
we don't
How do
believe
you
it because
believe it?
we're so encultured to criticize ourselves. I think I mean, it's believable, right? You're a regular human. Of course that upset you. Sometimes you need a friend to be like, of course it upset you. That upset anybody. And doesn't that make you
Yeah.
feel better when someone, it's like validating, right? Self
Yeah.
compassion is just validating yourself. Like,
Yeah. You're right.
because right away, anything we feel, we invalidate ourselves. We get enough invalidation from the world. We don't have to invalidate ourselves. Um, and so self compassion is about validating the self, is be like, oh yeah, I understand. That totally makes sense why I feel that way. Then you
Mhm.
don't get so mad at yourself for feeling stuff. Sometimes I teach the kiss your hand and touch your heart. That's in my book. You know, my book. I have a, you know, that team book, Anxiety. I'm so done with you.
You
Um,
know that book.
you know that book. I talk about this, like when you're trying to give yourself self compassion, you could be like, oh yeah, I understand, because it's a really quick gesture. You don't have to stay in it. You don't have to like figure stuff out. You just like you could you know, give yourself some compassion every time, because sometimes something hurts you and it comes up again and again. You know what we do? We're like, "Ah, why am I thinking about that again?" You know, you go over like the dialogue that you had with that person in your head over and over. Um, you know, and this is a way to like practice not spending your time doing that anymore. But I promise to give you those 3 steps to, if you're going through a hard time in the moment. The first thing is self-compassion, because when you validate yourself, you're not attaching, and then you're able to do step 2, which is to take a step back. And so you're kind of taking a step outside the chaos where you have like a bigger view of the situation. You kind of imagine like all the players, like what happened, and they're like little like players in a board down there, and you're like way back. This takes you immediately out of the emotions, like, so your nervous system settles down when you take that. Um, this is Russell Mears calls this a stream of consciousness. It's like the eighth level of memory, where you're when you're able to witness yourself, and it just settles your nervous system down. It settles you down, and you actually get better perspective because you're not in the chaos. You're not in the desperation of like trying to make meaning around it. And so that's step 2. And then from that position, when you get a deeper understanding of yourself and what the other people are doing and why that's happening. And from there, you could just, step 3 is decide then what you could do. Decide what to do, you know, in response to whatever that is. But that has to come in those order. Like, first, compassion, because you can't step back without the compassion. And you can't decide what to do because it'd be like a knee jerk, or it'd be like urgent, and you know, you're not really thinking it through unless you do the step 2. So, but yeah, if you were feeling something really intense, you could do the 2 minutes to peace exercise when you imagine where it is and you breathe through it. You know, because sometimes we get
Hmm.
angry and then we're so mad at ourselves for being angry, and we're just then more angry.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we have a couple more minutes here, and I thought I'd share some of my, there was some, I have this card game, everyone. It's called Encompass. and I'll put the link below. I'm selling it on Amazon and on my website, but it's played like apples to apples. And Lily helped me workshop this game. We had a lot of fun making it. The whole family was involved. But there's a couple of so it's played like apples and apples. You got a problem, and then there's tons of reactions or responses to that problem. And I'm so invested in this idea of feeling your feelings because and having self-compassion because I think it's going to change your life. If you start to have compassion for yourself instead of judgment, like you not attaching to all these things, man, it changes everything. But I thought it was really cool because I have a lot of cards that are related to validate yourself. I have act non-judgmentally, everything we're talking about today. And if you're listening to the podcast, like go into the notes and you could find a link to these cards, or you could come on over to YouTube and the link there is for the video if you wanted to see what I'm showing you. Have compassion for yourself, right? Allow anger. We're talking about that too. I couldn't believe there were so many cards that had the topic of today. Allow anger, right? If you fight your anger, resist your anger, it's just going to get stuffed down. It's going to come out sideways. It's going to, do all those things that we don't want it to do. We're going to be more judgmental to ourselves. We're going to blame. We're going to make it worse. And then it's just more anger. And then we're like, I'm totally overreacting. That's because it's all of that. It's not just the original anger. Witness yourself. We're talking about witnessing yourself, like taking that step back. Zoom out. Zoom out is the same thing as taking a step back. Lily can't wait till I come down
Wow.
and visit and we can play the game together.
So, so relevant,
So
isn't it?
relevant to your life. I don't see any questions in the chat. So anything else you want to say, Lil? What did you think about it? Helpful? You
Yeah.
heard all this stuff?
Yeah, but it's always a good reminder to have compassion for yourself.
Isn't that weird? Like
Because,
we've been talking about it forever, but it's still like you have to still remember.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely, it helps to have someone else. Which I guess it's good. I I could learn to do it myself, and I do, but um, it definitely is like really helpful to get validation from other people about
Yes.
your stuff, and that's good too. Just like have someone to talk to. That
Absolutely. We
helps.
we don't like heal by ourselves. We heal in relationship. But sometimes you need a little bridge till you get to somebody. And you have to have
Hmm.
self-compassion during that. And if you have a lot of people who love you and are so validating to you, obviously self-compassion is a lot easier. If you have a lot of people
Yeah,
around you who are mean to you or you're really isolated, self-compassion is really hard.
it's hard. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
well,
I'm lucky.
you're lucky if people who tell you to have compassion for yourself. Is that me? Is that me
Yeah,
you're talking about me? So everyone
yeah.
hop on, go look at Encompass card games, link down below. So we are on every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern and in a live show. If you watch us on YouTube, you could comment. If you watch it on Facebook, you could comment as well. And so we could reply to you or I could speak to you. I could coach you live. Um, and yeah, so come on over to my website, jodiaman.com/live, and you could sign up for updates. So you get the topic of the show and or learn about if there's a guest on. And so we're so happy. We're so happy to see you tonight. Any last words, Lil?
Stay compassionate.
Stay compassionate. Awesome. All right. I the word compass is like compass is like my brand and it's because it's short for compassion. Did you know why that's
No,
why I
I didn't
labeled
know
my
that. Oh my gosh.
yeah. I know. That's why I labeled my curriculum is called Compass. I have a curriculum for high school health teachers and counselors, and it's called Compass. Um, I'll talk about it another night, but that's because it's short for compassion. But Compass is really cool because it's like orientation to you know
Yeah, that's
happiness.
cool.
All right. I'll see y'all next week right here, and thanks so much for being here.